Glory to God. Welcome once again. And today, I am hoping that we are going to be able to share information that is usable to all of us. But before I do that, please allow me to pray. Father, I thank you for this opportunity to serve and to be served. I pray, oh God, that you may be in our midst, give us the wisdom that we need, oh God, and the clarity, Lord, that we need to share with your people. You know what each and every one of them needs. And therefore, we commit this hour into your hands, oh God, and say, Lord, use our mouths and our minds, oh God, to share that which we need to share, oh God, with clarity and again with wisdom that only comes from you, oh God. Lord, as always, I decrease so you may increase in me. It is in the name that is above every name, Jesus Christ, that I pray. Amen and amen. Glory to God. Welcome to another session of a Prepared and Protected Immigration Clarity Hour. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Pastor T, and I am your host this afternoon. So, this initiative was created through Diaspora Women Arise in collaboration with the Dialogue with Pastor T to provide calm, reliable, and practical immigration information to our community during a time when many people are overwhelmed by confusion, misinformation, and fear. Um, I don't believe that in the almost 30 years that I've been in this country, we have had such um, misalignment, if you will, of the immigration system. And unfortunately, because of everything that is going on and a lot of parts moving, there's always going to be some
I'll
confusion.
see you then. If you are able to count, then I will thank God about that.
Magaya, can you please mute yourselves?
Okay, let me give you so you are preparing
Okay,
for the
can everyone please mute yourself? Thank you. So there's been a lot of misinformation. There's been a lot, and some of it it's not malice. It's not intentional. People are intending to help one another, but sometimes in that intention, there is chances of things not being in people not receiving the appropriate information that they need for the time. So, and then there's a lot of fear. A lot of people are feeling insecure right now, and with everything, as I said, that is going on. So, and our theme today is students' status and staying compliant. I thought that this theme was relevant in this season, especially with most of you or some of you students. Some of you have just arrived. Some of you in between, and a lot of you are actually in the middle of a graduation or preparing to graduate and are in need of the right information. So, because many students are trying to navigate school requirements, immigration laws, employment restrictions, travel concerns, and a rapidly changing information online, our goal today is not to create fear, but clarity. So, before we begin, please remember this session is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered legal advice. Every immigration situation is different, and we encourage attendees to consult directly with a qualified immigration attorney, whether you reach out to the two attorneys that are here or you reach out to other attorneys in our community. It is very important that you get services that are related to your individual circumstance. That said, today we are joined once again by two incredible guests. First, we have Ms. Heather, an immigration attorney who has extensive experience helping individuals and families navigating immigration processes and compliance matters. We also have Attorney Niels. He is a federal policy manager with African Communities Together, whose work focuses on immigration policy, advocacy, and understanding how federal changes impact immigrant communities in practical ways. So, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, in the first section, I want us to take some time to understand status. So, to Miss Heather, let's start with the foundation. When we say a student is in status, what does that actually mean in practical terms for an international student?
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor T. Thank you, Mr. Kinwani. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. And thank you for everybody that has joined this. I think, Pastor has already said something. Even us as attorneys, we are grappling. We are really grappling because when you go to law school, you are taught the rules. Now, what we're dealing with is policy, and it's changing, and immigration is a very hard um, subject in the sense that there's a lot of discretion. But anyway, so to answer your question with regards to, a student being in status, we all know that, first of all, when a student, with the first thing you do is you apply, right? You apply as an international student, you go through your school, they give you the I-20, you pay for your service fee. That one is, let's call it like a trekking, you know. There are certain conditions within the requirements of your studies. For example, you have to keep within, the hours that are prescribed. You cannot do online lessons except maybe, just a few credits, but your presence has to be seen. Um, and you have to have a certain amount of credits that you have to keep per semester. The only semester where you can have a lighter load or no load is, during the short summer semester. But most of the time, you have to be in school. So it's just following the conditions and also making sure that you work with your DSO, your designated student person. That's the one that you need to make sure that you check the emails. If there's any area that you are not sure of, you need to be in touch with your DSO at all times. Do not ignore emails, and also make sure that your I-20 is still valid. If it needs to be extended, make sure that you extend before it expires. Do not wait until last minute. So that's in a nutshell what being in status means.
And while I have you, can you please identify some of the most common ways students unintentionally fall out of status?
Okay, I have actually written a few. So the common problem areas that we see or that I've seen is students failing their courses repeatedly, so you must make sure that you do not do that. And also you enroll below your full-time without authorization, you transfer too frequently, you remain in language programs for years, and you use questionable CPT heavy schools, or you cannot demonstrate sufficient funding for continued study, So those are some of the things, and just, I mean, when you're doing something wrong, you should, and also, like I said before, you need to make sure that you keep in touch with your DSO, you keep up to date with anything that is changing. Do not wait until the last minute.
Yeah, because I signed up for any.
To Tinder. Yeah.
Oh, somebody's talking.
Oh, it was Rachel? All right.
I'm trying to mute.
Good. Yep.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so just make sure that you follow, you're here to study, so that's the main thing. And then also, like right now, you just have to make sure that, like if you decide that you're going to travel, you are doing it in a safe way. I mean, even if you are going to travel from another state to another state, just make sure you have your paperwork with you, because right now anything can happen, like the one that I was talking about in terms of the language schools. I've actually seen how it can affect people, so just be very careful, and don't think that um, just because other people have done certain things you can get away with it. I would say if you have a question, get with somebody that has real knowledge. Do not listen to your friends. Do not listen to people that do not know enough about immigration. Please do not, because I see a lot of people later on, they coming to us, but they've already made mistakes. Please, if you're about to make a decision, make sure you go to your DSO if you're not sure, and talk to them, because they has to be somebody that has a solution for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Heather. Now, Attorney Niels, from a policy and a community perspective, are you seeing increased confusion of anxiety among students around maintaining status in the current climate?
Yes, I would like to first thank you, Pastor T, and thank you to all the participants. And I really look forward to a very fruitful, insightful discussion today. Thank you, Heather. Always a pleasure to share the forum, the stage with you. So I would say yes, there is confusion, and back to what Heather mentioned, the DSO will be your best friend. If you are an international student, a DSO will be your best friend. Uh, but going back to the fundamentals, essentially a F1 visa. So maybe let me go back. So they are it's important to understand the different types of visas and the conditions attached to those visas. So generally, there are two types of visa: non-immigrant and immigrant visa, right? And with a non-immigrant visa, you are considered a visitor. You are considered a temporary student, worker, a temporary visitor in the country. And the biggest condition that you have to show and continue to prove is what the law refers to as the non-immigrant intent. So you have to show that you do not have any intent to stay permanently in the US or to immigrate in the US if you're outside, if you're applying for the visa outside the US, right? So that is the biggest condition that you have to show. And the mistake that people make is that, well, it's I mean, if you're applying for a visa, you go to the interview, you have to show that the consular officer will inquire into that. Now, when you come to the US, as in addition to following your the all the advice that Heather gave around maintaining your a course load, a full course load, you also have to continue to show that you do not have the intent to stay in the US permanently. So one example is, people when you um, when you have a student visa and you are trying to, for example, apply for a green card, right? So maybe we'll get to that into the Q&A, but that is one area that can be murky, complex, and that you will need to work with an attorney for sure. So if you're an F1 student and trying to apply for a green card, remember applying for a green card as an intent to stay in the US permanently, and that intent contradicts your student visa intent. So you will need to work with an attorney. Whether you are applying for a green card through an employer, or through a family petition, if you hold an F1 visa, student visa, then you will need to work with an attorney if you're on a transition to a green card, or some other type of visas. So that is one thing that I'll note here, in addition to all the good things, the advice that Heather has shared.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, what are some misconceptions circulating in the community or maybe on social media that concern you most?
Well, I'll also add, if you're an F1 student and trying to apply for asylum, that's also a way to show immigrant intent. So it's not only, green card, but also an asylum application. So, if you're doing any of that, you need to work with an attorney. Now, to your question about the misconception, now, the misconception around student visa, and what I've seen, and I'll give an example. We had a community member that came to the US with a student visa in 2023, and for one reason or another, they stopped going to school, and they never they never went back to the DSO to explain that they had some. So they stopped going to school because of some hardship. They could not afford school. As you know, in most states, if you're an international student, you pay a higher rate of tuition, and so. For one reason or another, people experiencing financial hardship, usually that lead to people not being able to afford school. And then so what, some people will do is they will just stop going to school and not approach or talk to the DSO, which is what this community member did. Now, and it caused a lot of problems later on, and I'll maybe we'll get to that and later on. But you know, if you are experiencing financial hardship, you can work with DSO. The law, the regulations provide some exceptions. Again, limited exceptions. So if you're experiencing financial hardship, there is a way the law allows you to take less than the full course of study. So if you're taking 12 credits, and if you have to take 12 credits, for example, to maintain student status, if you're experiencing financial hardship and you are able to document the hardship, then that can allow you, immigration can allow you to take less than 12 credits. So instead of 12 credits, that's around 4 classes, you can take less than that. And that can help. If you cannot afford 12 credits, then if you can afford less than that, then you'll be allowed to do that and still maintain your status. So what I would say here, the misconception is that people think that, well, I can't afford it. I have to take 12 credits. I can't afford it. And if I can't afford it, therefore, I'll just leave and stop going to school. So my general advice here is that if you're experiencing financial hardship and you can't afford the required number of credits that you have to take, please talk to the DSO. And depending on your
Hello?
situation, they might be able to help.
Hello.
Pauline, can you please mute yourself? Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, and I appreciate the that example because I believe that a lot of students fall into that. and not knowing that they can actually have that discussion where they don't have to be a full-time student per se during that season when they're having a hardship. I think what is coming out for me in between what you and Miss Heather said is that it's really important to establish and build and nurture a relationship with your DSO. They are your friend. They are not someone to run away from. They are not someone to ignore, but they really can be your friend. So nurture that relationship and genuinely seek to have to build good network around you with the right people within your school, including your dean, your and your professors as well.
And the other thing that I want to add to that, Pastor T, is that, I've had a situation where a student has come to me and they're asking if it's okay that they participate in some event where they might get paid, right? And of course, that's a no, right? But it's how you word things. Like if let's say you want to participate in an event, you can be as a volunteer. Like if it's something that's happening at your church, maybe you're good at singing and it's going to be a concert, approach your DSO, put it in writing, and just explain, this is what I want to do, this is what we're planning on doing. And your DSO should be able to back what you're saying. If you put it in a way, being an F1 student does not mean that you stop living your life, right? What it means though is you stay within the parameters of the law. You still enjoy certain activities. If it's an event, just don't take money for it, because you don't want to be seen as you are in unauthorized employment. And but I do want to really caution people on, just because of some of the things that we are seeing. Mr. Nils pointed out that you can have periods where you're going to have hardships in your life, and you can definitely uh, go and apply and bring your case, bring your evidence. It could be maybe your source of sponsorship. Something happened and you've got all the evidence, whether it's sickness or whatever it is. But what I would really urge people right now is, please do not forge documents. Yeah, because what we are seeing is there is heavy scrutiny of documents. So just be careful. Do not, just, people used to get away with a lot of things. We've got to admit that people used to, just even bank statements, people would just, now they are almost anal. So in some cases, they even want something that has been stamped in a certain way by the bank, you know. And sometimes it becomes very difficult. So just take into account, like if let's say something is coming up, give it time, get all your documentation together. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, because I might forget, I'm getting old, so things sometimes I forget. But I was just thinking, there are students or potential students that are thinking of changing from whether it's a visitor visa to an F1 visa. I'm seeing that, especially right now with the travel ban, and they're doing premium processing. And they're just going in there and just throwing everything without order, without really thinking about it. The only thing that they're thinking is, well, premium processing. I got my I-20, I paid the service, but they don't have the evidence. And sometimes it's even the progression of, okay, how did I move? How am I moving from being a visitor? Because your intent is very important to immigration. When you first came, how did you end up progressing to this? And so I always say that give it enough time to before you embark in anything. Do not just think, oh, premium processing, then everything is, because when they will respond quickly, right? Now that they've responded, now you are torn because you didn't do your preparation. That's when people now start looking for attorneys, you know. do, Foundation is very important. Even if you have to pay that consultation fee, whatever it is, 150, $200, it's worth it. Then now you're in a mess, and then the attorney is asking for more money. You don't. I mean, here's a little secret that I'm going to tell you. If you can do consultation, take notes, and listen to everything that the attorney said, you might not even need the attorney to do your actual stuff. But if you say, oh, I know better, I'm just going to go ahead and I am going to just submit this because I've listened to Joe and Jill and Jack, and they said, we've done this several times. There's not a problem. And then you do it. Now you're going to have to pay more money to undo what you did, So just advice.
And to piggyback on that, Heather, while the question may be about paying more money, but there are some situations where even the attorney cannot help you. If you have dug yourself so
That
deep.
is so true. That is so true. And you spend a lot of money because premium processing is not cheap.
Right.
And you've gathered all your documents. I mean, not to digress, we have people that have very extensive knowledge, like maybe they have doctorates and they want to do the national interest waiver. I'm just giving that as an example. And they go and maybe they go on ChatGPT and they gather all the evidence, and maybe ChatGPT lies to them and says, oh, you've got a great profile, go for it, you've got 80% chance, and then they do it. And so all I'm just saying is now more than ever, evidentiary evidence is very important, and don't cook it. Please do not. I know not every lawyer is going to be, truthful, but I do hope they will be. And where it's not possible, they're going to tell you, no, you don't stand a chance, So all I'm just saying is be very careful, come in with a little bit of wisdom of yourself. And then when somebody tells you something, if they tell you something that is suspect, if they say, oh, I've done this 100,000 times, and then they give you some legal word that doesn't make sense. There are lawyers out there that even make up words that don't exist. So just be careful. That's all I'm just saying. Yeah. You go in with your wisdom and your questioning, and just be careful.
Yeah, I mean, even ChatGPT is a disclaimer to say
That is true. That is
seek
true.
professional help. Seek professional help. So let me switch a little bit and go into CPT, OPT, and work authorizations, because I think that's one of the domains where a lot of people kind of get a little bit stuck, and misinformation is coming people's way. So Heather, if you can stay right there, I want to come to you and say and ask you, because one of the biggest areas of confusion for students is employment authorization. Can you help us break down the differences between CPT, OPT, and unauthorized work in simple terms? Speak to us like we are 5-year-olds. Not
Okay.
just
Yeah.
clarity.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with CPT. CPT is basically, your practical training. You are doing some type of whatever it is. This is going to help you. It's like an internship, and it's going to help you based on your studies. So be very careful how you use the CPT. And there are certain hours and there are certain guidelines. CPT would probably be easier to get in a way, like especially right now with all these holes that we're seeing, it will probably be easier to get because all you need is, you know, your updated I-20, right? Whereas OPT will need work authorization. You know, it will still have to go to USCIS so that you get the EAD, right? So, you know, those are some of the things that you need to discuss with your DSO. So CPT will most likely happen whilst you're still studying, and OPT will be at the end of your degree. You know, and then there's like STEM OPT, which would be longer because it's based on, you know, science, technology, you know, that good stuff. You know, so whatever you do, but even with OPT, even if you get it approved, you have to get a job within a specified time. So what's happening now is that it is becoming very difficult for students to get those jobs. I mean, if it is difficult right now for an American to get a job, talk about you know, and I think we've discussed this in the past. OPT, what some people were doing, if you are able to do your own business and show that you have a really good business plan that you can do, you can literally be your own employer, you know, but it's for that specified amount of time, you know. So just make sure that whether it's, I mean, there are rumors going around and that, you know, OPT is not available right now for people from travel ban areas. There isn't anything in the policy that really specifies that. But what is being seen and what is even being reported by colleges is that for those travel ban countries, they're being vetted more. And so it is putting a lot of, you know, like delays, and so you might find now you're out of status, you know, because you're just waiting in that loop, you know. So I would say, as far as CPT, you should be fine, but you have to follow the requirements of that CPT. It shouldn't be something that is outside your area of studies. It should be something within those studies. And if it specifies there's a certain amount of time, hours that you can put into it, you cannot go beyond that time. My understanding is that if it is summer, in the summer season, you can have more hours. But if it is during, you know, the normal semester, it could be like something like 20 hours a week. So just make sure that the DSO, you've talked to your DSO, and you know, they've approved everything. You've shown exactly what you are going to do, that has been reported. But my main concern right now are for those who are waiting for the OPTs because of what we are seeing. And it's really difficult for all of us because, you know, when you look at that proclamation, you still wonder, there's a lot that wasn't really specified, but we're seeing it might as well be a full travel ban, in my opinion, because I'm not seeing how it's not affecting families are being affected, everybody's being affected. So yeah.
While you are standing there, I just want us to, I want to ask you this. If we spoke about being in status earlier, right? And so if someone has applied for OPT and it's pending, and then they graduate and they are in between worlds, so to speak. They haven't heard for their OPT, and their time is coming up where where they're expected to have at least started OPT. What happens with someone's status when they are in that kind of limbo?
Yeah, that one is a very difficult one for all of us because there is no precedent right now because people used to automatically. I mean, what we knew is that if you were approved and you didn't get a job, obviously you'll be given 60 days and you have to go.
Right. Mhm.
Now, in a situation where it's still pending, maybe Mr. Niels can, because this is all policy. I have not seen any document that says, but I would think that you would be out of status, right? So your best bet will be to speak to your DSO, and they will most likely tell you that if your time is up, it's time to go. Because here's the thing. Unfortunately, sometimes as attorneys, just like any profession, whether you're a doctor, sometimes you have to give bad news. And bad news, we give it out of caution. You want to be able to leave the country. Let's say you've graduated and everything. You want to leave the country while your status is still good. You know, um, if you can find some other option that allows you to stay, then that's something that now you have to look at. But once the day your program ends, then it would be time to go. Unfortunately, I think if like sometimes you have to look at the motivation of the administration. What is their motivation? The motivation is they just think students are staying longer than they should be, and it's time for them to go. But the the concerning thing that I see about this is that it's going to affect the schools themselves, because a lot of students are going to be looking elsewhere to other countries for their studies, and that's going to affect a lot of universities. There's some programs that have closed. America was built, whether people like it or not, it was built on immigration. So I would just say, if let's say that happens to you, talk to your DSO. I do not want to say that this is what she said, but all I'm just saying is sometimes you just have to be extremely conservative. If your motive is to come back to America at some point, then I would say, just leave, whilst your status is still good. Yeah.
So in that regards, does that also mean for those individuals who have been approved and it's after the 90-day period or the 60-day period is passed, are you also are you giving the same kind of thinking process for that sake?
Yes, and the DSOs will probably tell you, because what they're going to do is they're going to have to report that in the service record. And they will be in touch with you, because they will definitely, be in touch to say, hey, okay, we still want to find out whether you find the, you found the job. And if you haven't, they have to go by the rules. That's why I'm saying, unfortunately, you have to be conservative. If your intent is to come back at some other point, you do not want to ruin your immigration record. And it's just unfortunate this is where we're at right now.
I like the point that you raised, that in not liking it in a good way, but just to acknowledge the reality that universities they from a business perspective, having international students is a big plus for them, because international students, they pay the highest fee for being students. So from a business perspective, I can see how they can certainly be impacted on that. And then, of course, when we start talking about diversity and all other things coming through, but specifically from a business perspective, financial decision, I think that's going to begin to really show the cracks of what is going on right now.
And I also think, not just from a business perspective, the one thing that I'm seeing about this administration is that they are not forward thinking. A lot of the things that, America, you cannot compare America to Finland or Sweden or those little European countries. America is a vast country. And what has made America what it is right now is is really foreign students that have come into this, and it has worked. The fact that there's the H-1B program. Whilst we do understand that sometimes when these things happen, they are abused, there is abuse. But for the most part, they work because if you look at, like the Indian population, they are in IT. I mean, I've been in IT for years. I can tell you that most of the people in IT are Indians. So something must be working there, for it to be like that. So I think in the long term, I think things are going to turn around. Unfortunately, right now we are in this season. And unfortunately, some of you are caught in this crossfire. But I don't think that things will remain this way. I don't know if, Mr. Niels, what do you think? Maybe you can talk about that.
Uh, yeah, I think you're right. Things are changing rapidly, so we just need to be careful. A few things that I wanted to mention, Pastor T, I don't know if I should pass it over to you or continue.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So one of the biggest policy changes with regard to F1 visa or status has been the elimination of what's called the duration of status. Now, let me explain. When you are granted your F1 visa and you enter into the US, there is a form that is given to you. It's now accessible. It's available online. It used to be on paper. And that form is called I-94. That form controls you. It's the most important document because it controls your status in the US, the I-94. So always, and here, regardless of and this form is used for virtually all types of visas, especially non-immigrant visas or temporary visas. So always pay attention to try to find your I-94 and pay attention to the expiration date of your on your I-94 form. Now, for F1 students, uh, their I-94 used to have an expiration date marked as duration of status, right? So the I-94 essentially, as I explained, controls how long how long you can stay in the country, right? So the expiration on your I-90, the expiration date on your I-94 is essentially your expiration date in the country. And sometimes it can be confusing because people will have their visa, especially with visitor visa or even F1 visa. You have your F1 visa might be valid for 2 or 3 years, depending on which country you're coming from, which country you're from. But your I-94 might have a shorter expiration date. So, but here the source of the truth is your I-94. So pay attention to that date. And then the change here is that for F1 students used to get a duration of status expiration there on the I-94. And what that means is that you will continue to maintain you continue to be allowed to stay in the country as long as you maintain your status. So, as Heather explained, if you are following all the requirements for your F1 visa, you are taking your full time, you're taking the required course load, you're maintaining your status. You will continue, your status will not have a set expiration date, right? So, and that is typically helpful if you are moving from, let's say, undergrad to grad school, so you don't have to apply for a new visa, right? So you can, as long as you continue to maintain that F1 status, moving from undergrad to grad school, you can only get your I-20 updated by the DSO, but you don't have to apply for a new F1 visa, right? So now that has changed. F1 students now have a set expiration date. They are given 4 years, right? So when you enter the US on an F1 visa, you have a set expiration date of 4 years, right? And so pay attention to that expiration date on your I-94. And what that essentially means is that regardless of whether you're maintaining your F1 status or not, and hopefully you're maintaining your F1 status, but by that date on your I-94, you have to leave the country, right? That is your expiration date on your country. Now, if you are moving then from either from, let's say you have your 4 years and you have not graduated, you have your 4 years expire or about to expire, and then you have not graduated, then you will need to apply for what's called an extension of status, right? So it's tricky here, and then so a few things that I want people to keep in mind because this can get too technical. So one is that if you are an F1 student recently entered the US, please pay attention to your expiration date on your I-94. If you are approaching that expiration date, talk to your DSO or work with an attorney to file an extension of an application for extension of status, right? Very important. Otherwise, we'll be out of status. So that's number one. Number two, and this goes back to the question around, well, if you are an F1 student, you apply for OPT, what is your status during, the time that the OPT application, the OPT application, the EAD application is pending? Now, there is a concept in the law, an immigration law, when you are applying for, so let's say you are a visitor visa or an F1 visa and your visa expires or about to expire and you apply for green card, you apply for extension of status, or you apply for, any other type of application. If you timely file your application, meaning that you applied before your status expires, and your status happens to expire while your application is pending, then you get what's called in the law um, authorized to stay. So you are authorized to stay in the country. Now that's a very murky, tricky, it's a gray area in the law. It simply means that, hey, you don't have legal status, but you have authorization to stay in the country, right? And since it's a gray area in the law, different administrations have interpreted in a different way, right? So in the past, if you are, in that limbo time, you won't be a priority for enforcement, right? They will consider you as, though you are, you have some sort of legal stay in the country, or legal presence in the country. However, with this administration, they are not interpreting it that way. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you apply and your status expires while your application is pending, you could still be, subject to enforcement, right? Because per this administration interpretation, you are not considered to be to have legal status, to have lawful status, and then so you can be subject to enforcement. But to this question specifically about OPT application pending, if you timely filed your OPT application, you should be fine as long as that application was timely filed. You should be fine. However, the risk here is that, while that application is pending, you are in a period of authorized stay and you could be subject to, detention or general enforcement. So that's one thing to note here. Anyways, I'll stop there for now.
And that's why, just to add on to what you said, the problem with, and that's why I'm saying be conservative right now, is because even, let's say, for example, you do an extension. Let's say you do like an extension or you're changing statuses. Let's say, for example, you are, that is denied. You're given very limited time. It's not going to be the 60 days. It's going to be literally like 3 days to go. So, and then not only that, you see, the implications, even though you might be allowed to stay legally, is that it can impact you the next time you want to come back, because there will be that evidence. And sometimes they're not necessarily going to look at it like, oh, I was waiting for this to be processed. So that's where the danger is. That's why I'm saying I would rather, if you're like, okay, I don't care what happens after I leave, I'm not coming back to the States. There are people like that. Then you can stay. But if this is something that you are going to want to do, it's going to be on your record. Like it's going to be very hard to explain that situation, you know. So I'm just saying it for, just be conservative if possible. And not only that, this is another issue that you have to discuss with your DSO, because the schools, what we are seeing is schools are also being very conservative, because they can also run into problems with the government, with DHS. So they're being very conservative and almost saying to some students, and it differs from school to school. Some schools, they're more, relaxed, but some are like, you have to leave and we're going to report it, because they just, compliance levels are different, you know. But with what I'm seeing right now, and like what Mr. Neil said, is that every administration is different. But what I'm seeing right now, this one is very strict. And always remember that immigration officials have a lot of discretion. That is the thing that makes immigration hard. It's not necessarily a very hard subject, but what makes it hard is some of the murky, uncertain areas. Tomorrow another administration can come in and it's a different thing, and then another administration comes in and they have different policies. So but at the end of the day, it's up to you. But if it was up to me and I'm giving advice, I would just say be conservative.
Okay. Trying to manage the chat as well. So I see some questions in there that have not yet been touched. We'll come back to them because I really want us to cover some general aspects as well, so that we don't
Oh,
we
Pastor
don't miss.
T, sorry to interrupt you. Mr. Nils also talked about duration of status. I just want to say that right now it's still an interim rule. It's not yet official. But basically, like he explained, right now it's duration of status, just means that, for the duration of your your studies, literally, which means that some people are staying for longer periods, but it is being finalized. They're finalizing it, and it could include limits, 2 to 4 year limits, stricter transfer change of level rules, and that would end up increasing, unlawful presence, consequences. So that's something that we're looking at. And somebody also asked if this is going to be retroactive. I don't know whether you meant retrospectively or retroactive. I think you meant retroactive, going back to, I think the way that you should look at it is, as long as you are already in a program, then you just continue with that program, right? But if now you want to change to something and you've been here longer than what they've is prescribed, then you just have to end that program. So whatever has been continuing right now should be okay, but it's not, it's still an interim rule. So I believe it's now a final interim rule, but there is a procedure that has to take place before it becomes
Affected.
yeah, effective. Yeah. So I
Okay.
don't believe it's effective yet.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Niels, from a policy and community perspective, are you seeing increased? No, actually, I think I asked you this question. I want to ask you regarding work authorization. From your perspective, how are policy discussions or enforcement trends affecting how students should think about employment and compliance?
So this goes back to the discussion or the even the previous questions. Um, on the policy side, you know, the Congress is throwing a lot of money into enforcement. As you might have heard, so the Congress passed a bill recently that did not give any additional funding for ICE or CBP for enforcement. However, they are preparing a new appropriation or new bill called a reconciliation bill that will give ICE and CBP a lot of funding that will go into enforcement. So that is something to take into consideration. Now, I'll give you one example again, going back to the example of the community member who stopped going to school and did not approach the DSO. Now, if you stop going to school or you go out of F1 status and then you're applying for uh, any other immigration status or green card or asylum, again, during that time, you are in a period of authorized stay. Now, as I mentioned before, the previous administration would used to interpret that as someone has a legal presence in the country and therefore not necessarily subject to detention or be placed in removal proceedings. However, that has changed. In the case of that community member, it was pulled over, arrested by local police, referred to ICE, and placed in removal proceedings, although he had a pending immigration case. So, what I would say is that if you are going out of status and applying for any other visa, it can be non-immigrant or immigrant visa or asylum, understand the risk that during that time, if you're not maintaining your F1 student, you might be subject to enforcement.
Mm. Yeah.
It's murky, right?
Yes.
It's really
Yes.
murky.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
it will pass. Let's
This too
not.
shall pass.
Yeah,
This fight, this too shall pass.
I I 100% believe that this will pass.
Yes.
I just don't know when. I don't have the crystal ball to tell you.
Well, it will pass. We all know, that in every administration comes to an end, and
Yeah,
when it does, certain liberties are taken and certain changes also come into effect. So, just from that perspective, we know that the change is coming.
yeah.
So, Attorney Niels, let's talk about travel and and visa concerns. And we have so many questions. I have to tell you, there were so many questions that came in from people, and I might have to ask you guys to come back because people have questions and they don't know where and how to get the right answers. So I might have to, because we had only allocated an hour and a half for this session. So I can see us kind of running out of time. But many students are nervous about travel right now. What broader concerns or policy realities should students keep in mind before leaving the United States? I know people are also concerned about locally. You can address that too, but particularly when people travel abroad. You know how sometimes I get calls when people say, "What if I'm just going to Canada for the weekend? I just want to go to Canada for the weekend and come back." Talk to us. You are muted.
I'm on mute. I was gonna share a chart that
Yeah.
my organization put together on travel ban,
Okay,
which I think
let me give you
permission to share.
permission to share. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And if you can also, if you're able to send it to me, not right now, but late afterwards, so that I can also share with others. Let me see.
Okay,
You
I think I have permission to share my
do
screen.
you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. There you go.
Um, all right. Sure if you can see can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh no, no, not yet. I'm seeing that you have started sharing, but yes, now we see it.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, and I'll go through this chart quickly.
Hmm.
So, if you look at my screen, there's two types of travel bans. The first travel ban, and we call it the national security travel ban. Um, and the reason why we call it national security travel ban is because the government is basically saying that, people from these countries are, likely to be a threat to national security, right? Or they're likely to overstay their visas, right? So that's the basis of this travel ban. And the second travel ban is the public charge travel ban. And here we're calling it public charge travel ban is because the government is basically saying that, people from these countries are likely to become public charge or are likely to rely on public benefit, right, in the US. And therefore, we will bar them or, restrict their entry into the US because they are likely to be a public charge, right? Now, with the first travel ban, the national security travel ban, 39 countries, total of 39 countries are affected, 26 African countries, and these the countries are listed here. There are 12 African countries that are fully banned. And a full ban means that, people who live outside the US cannot get any visa that will allow them to live permanently in the US or to visit. So if your country is fully banned, so you won't be able to get um, uh, any visas, both non-immigrant or temporary visa and immigrant visa, or enter the U.S. through a family petition or an employer petition and get your green card. So you're fully banned. Now there's 14 African countries that are partially banned. And I hope you can see my screen, but I'll share this chart. And I don't want to go through the list here, but you can check and see if your country is listed there. So a partial ban means that, um, you know, people who live outside the US trying to get a visa cannot get any visas that allow them to live permanent in the US. So these are people that are coming to the US to get a green card, right? Like, so if you have a family member, spouse, parents, kids that, sponsor you or petition for you, and you get your petition approved, and you're applying to come to the US and get your green card, and you won't be able to get that. And these people that are partially banned cannot get certain visas that allow them to visit um, temporarily, right? So B1, B2, F, M, J, and for the most part, these are F and M are student visas. And this also impact people inside the US. And we, I think, alluded to the adjudication pause or the processing pause. So for people who are inside the US, if you are from any of the travel ban, if your country is fully banned, and if you are in the US, you will not have your immigration applications processed for the most part. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, you will not be the applications will not be adjudicated or decided, or have a final decision on your application. And same thing with people under partial ban. And so that's the first travel ban, the first category. The second category covers 75 or affects 75 countries, including 26 African countries. Um, and all the countries are listed here. And the way this affect people is that if you are from any of the countries that are banned under the public charge travel ban, then you won't get you won't be processed or get an immigrant visa that allows you to get a green card when you enter the US. Um, and um, and then also, if you are in the US and you file a family petition, most likely that family, those people that your family members that are waiting for the petition to be approved and get their visas to enter the US will not get will not get their immigrant visas at the embassy to enter the US and get a green card. So this is a very helpful document to have, and I'll make sure to share that. So, Pastor T, that was a summary of travel ban.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, do you advise students to travel at all or not to travel? I mean, obviously, each understanding that each situation is different, but given what is going on right now.
Yeah, so you just have to look at this chart, right? So if you are fully banned, you might not be. I mean, let me put it this way. So this is both a visa ban and an entry ban. So in some cases, you might have a valid visa, but you can get denied entry. So that's the question that
Mm,
we are getting a lot. So generally, and please work with an attorney. Generally, if you are an F1 student and you are from any of these countries, any of these 26 African countries, then generally you should reconsider travel plans, right? So that is the rule of thumb. But you'll have to work with an attorney to confirm your travel plan. Um, but if your country is banned, then you should reconsider travel plans.
mm, mm. And I think there is also another misinformation and if you can please answer this, whether you or Heather, where people have possibly been informed that if you are on a travel ban, whether partially or fully, you can no longer, you are not eligible to apply for asylum. What's the story?
With
No,
asylum, it's tricky. Oh, Heather, you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, you can still apply for asylum. Right now, we can't say whether it's going to change, but as it stands right now, people are applying for asylum. The only issue is that the decisions for Zimbabweans are on hold. But I did see they were not a client of mine, but they came to me. They went for an interview early this year, and unfortunately, they did not get an approval. That was maybe they came to me, was it last week or the week before? They got their asylum decision. That's the only one that I've seen. The clients that I have some students that did go for asylum interviews and they're still waiting for their decision. So yes, they are definitely taking applications for from travel ban countries. But I'm sure you've heard that. Oh, sorry, Zoom user. Um, you heard that now they've added a question in, like let's say you're coming here, one of the consular processing questions is, are you in fear of going back
Yes,
to your
they
country?
have. Yes, they
Yeah,
have. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
very recent. Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty recent. So I think they are trying to find ways of slowing down asylum applications.
true.
But if you are here already, because that question was never asked to you,
Uh,
you
yeah.
can go ahead and apply for asylum. I just don't know what's going to happen.
And that's the other thing that there is not, we haven't heard because it's just started. We also don't
Yeah.
know whether or not that in itself is going to say, oh, okay, we are going to put you in a different route of applying for asylum rather than a visitor's visa.
I wish that would be the case, but
Yeah.
I almost get the feeling that if you put yes, then you probably are not going to get the visa. And because you look at how now they're even hiding behind the third country, right? They're sending people to Uganda. Maybe they might say, well, if let's say you come here and you apply for asylum, they might then say, let's say even if they were to let you in, maybe they'll end up sending you to another country. I don't know, but I think it's just they're trying to find ways of people not to apply for asylum.
Mhm. Yeah. The struggle is real. So let's go back to
That one's what?
Hey, Pastor T, there's another question that someone asked, and a little bit way back. It was to do with, please, EB2 is not a status, you know.
okay, yes, I saw that. I was gonna
Yeah.
leave it to the end, but go ahead if you want to answer it.
Yeah. Okay, the only way that maybe it can cover you is, let's say, what's been happening of late is sometimes the bulletin is current, you know. So let's say you are already in a valid status, right? And the bulletin is current, then you're filing your I-140 at the same time as you're filing your green card. Then that might be able to give you time to, extend your stay but you have to be in a particular status. So, but if the bulletin is not current, and I don't know if people understand about the bulletin. It's there's a visa bulletin that is published every month, and of late it's been current, and so some people have taken advantage of that and gone and filed the I-140 as well as the green card.
Mm.
So yeah.
So from a practical perspective, if somebody decides they have to go home, there is a reason for them to travel, even though they are from a partially a banned, particularly from a partially banned. I'm not talking fully banned is a different ball game altogether, but if you're coming from a partially banned country, which most of the people in our community are, uh, what kind of documents or preparations should students generally review before making that travel decision? And what kind of documents should they also carry with them for to help them in their re-entry?
I mean, anything that points towards the visa that they have, I don't, I, I just wonder if anybody gets on a plane without documentation. And if that's the case, guide me. But I would think that, you should have things, like the whatever it is that you got from the school. Let's say, um, and also, your visa stamp, whatever it is from the school, your I-20, your, whatever it is that you can get from the school, just make sure that you have all the documents necessary. The one thing that I'm going to say about the travel, I mean, even though we're not on a full ban, what is being experienced is different for different people. N- Getting into the country is never guaranteed for anyone coming, right? Because you can get to immigration and everything, and maybe just a question can spark up something. Maybe they something can turn up in your immigration record that will put you for extra vetting, you know if you are in a situation that people, yourself, your situation, maybe even better than the attorney does. If you have certain things that you feel might be red flags, then do not travel right now, because there could be that extra vetting. Even though, I mean, we will say that if you have a valid visa, you are being welcome to come. There's nothing that's saying, oh, because you are from a partial ban country. If you have a current visa, yeah, get on. If it gets, I've heard of people even right now that are getting their visas approved. I don't know whether they are paying the bond or whatever it is, and so they're coming. So if you have a valid visa in your passport or wherever, yeah, but if you have something that you feel, okay, there's some people, and maybe that's digressing, right, that have been coming back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they stay for a long time. That is now being vetted, because you can't keep coming here on a vacation. So your situation better than anyone else, you know and please, this is also for F1 students. Be very careful about deciding to do a marriage or anything like that. Just make sure that it is a bona fide marriage. Please, whatever you do, this is not the time to enter into risk, because they are putting people in removal. They
Yeah.
are not playing. They are charging people with fraud. Okay, so before you do anything, yeah, get your documentation together that shows that you have every right to be getting on that plane, but also
Yeah.
make sure that there are no other red flags. And make sure that you don't relax just because you are now at the airport and you're about to get in. If you are asked questions, make sure that you have whatever it takes, rehearse the questions, really think about some of the questions that you might be asked, and be sure to have, sound confident. Don't sound nervous, just sound confident. Confidence will help you in a lot of things, in a lot of situations.
Mm. Okay. Um, let's switch a little bit. We are trying to cover as much ground as possible in a very short space of time, but we certainly we will consider coming back again So I want to talk about school transfers, course loads, and program changes, because that's another question, another area where some students struggle with. So Heather, students sometimes underestimate how academic decisions can affect immigration status. What should students know about transferring schools, changing programs, or even reducing their caseload? And again, not to speak of um, reducing your caseload because of what Mr. Niels talked about earlier in regards to having, you're doing it because you are in a financial situation, right? So there's a hardship. But there are some people who just decide, you know what, I am going to take 1 or 2 credits because I have shifts. Ndakabata my shifts. And so they are taking shifts, whatever they're doing to put food on the table, whatever the case is. But there are some people who are making that decision. And some of the decisions are not being made because they are necessarily just wanting to get money. Some of them are really truly because we have heard, and I'm not going to mention the names, but we have heard people who were given loans by certain entities. And then when they get here, those loans, some of those loans are not being honored. But the I was about to say the children. Well, some of them are still children, right? And they are now have this debt that some of them are being asked to pay before they can be given the next check, and so, or at least pay the interest. So you find that some kids, some young people, or some F1 students are being forced to um, work under the table, do whatever they need to do to make sure that they are in good standing with the loan provider, and that's a reality. And so, can you talk to us about some of those challenges and what the impact is on immigration status? Because
Okay. Yeah.
the loans are real. I mean,
Yeah.
some people, they left home with the understanding that this 2-year program is going to be funded, but now they have only done a few semesters and they are being told, oh, sorry, you haven't paid your interest, therefore you're not going to be approved for the following semester, or they are about to graduate, and 2 semesters before they graduate, that funding falls through. So it's a reality. And then now they are being put in a position to choose and say, you know what, instead of me being a full-time student, let me do maybe 6 credits and go look for a job so that I can cover my funding, my funding obligations. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it's a very sad situation. And like you said, these are our children. I mean, I look at most F1 students, unless if they're above, let's say 35, then I can say they're not children. But anyone under 35, you're my child. I'll take you as my child. Yeah. So the problem that I'm seeing is some F1 students are filing for asylum, right? So they
Yes.
file for asylum, then they are now eligible for work authorization, and they decide, okay, I now have work authorization. So they then decide, oh, I really don't need these studies anymore. So because I have, I filed for asylum, now I have the work authorization. And anyway, I guess I just didn't really, it's okay if I stop doing the studies, because I really, maybe the intent was not really for the studies or whatever. Or it could be, unfortunately, like what you're saying, that the money just isn't there. I mean, being an international student is not easy. First of all, they don't want you to work, but they charge the most, than the local students, right? And they want you to take more credits. So, what I would say is, this is when judgment comes, sound judgment. Um, you could say to your school, right now, I don't have the money, I need to leave. But I know people are not going to do that. But I'm just telling you, this needs wisdom, because just because you filed for asylum and now you have that work authorization doesn't give you, it's a very wobbly situation. It is good that you have the work permit. So if it's possible, if you can find a way of just trying to manage your studies and manage your work, try and find, and then also with your school, go on a payment plan. Some schools, they do allow you to do payment plans. Go on a payment plan, explain your situation, and pay little by little. The one thing that I do not rush to file asylum. It doesn't always protect you from everything. Really seriously think about the consequences of the things that you are doing. You know, if you have a good reason for filing asylum, yeah, go ahead and file it. But don't just follow the crowd and file it, because we have seen students that have been in situations where now they cannot pay for school. Like, for example, the language school thing, oh, yeah, let me keep going to a language school and then I can work and then I can do all these wonderful things, you know. Um, just make very like, and sometimes people, they are afraid of going back home, which I can understand, because there's this thing, okay, in Shona, do not tangira papi Dashika, it's real. There are no jobs in Zimbabwe, really. They aren't. You can be as learned as possible. You can even be a lawyer, and it can be hard in Zimbabwe. That's the reality of it. So I do understand where you're coming from, but whatever you do, just make sure you find somebody that's, don't just msafurani in your groups, neshamwari dzenyu muchifurirana and all that stuff. Make good decisions, well informed. If you decide that you are going to quit that school, make sure you know the consequences of quitting that school. Okay. And I'm also going to say this to people that have been granted asylum: do not quit your school, because we don't know where this is going to, because they are going to do some more additional vetting, even for people that have been granted asylum. So I'm just saying right now, dot your I's, cross your T's, please. We don't want to hear that people have been put in detention. We had one young man, and my heart, it really bled for that one young man. He went to the border. I don't know, they call it like a sprinter thing. These sprinter cars went to the border and was picked up, and then they looked at his immigration record as an F1 student and found that there was a break. Tried to convince that, okay, you have they were trying to move to another school, but there wasn't enough convincing evidence, and then that's when you end up caught in the crossfire with ICE. So whatever you do, just make sure that, if let's say, for example, and this happens to everybody, right? This can happen to anybody. If you find that you are not able to pay anymore, don't do crazy things. Don't get drunk. Don't fight people. Don't make yourself visible. Do whatever it is. If sometimes even going back home will be better than being put in detention. So whatever it is, make sure you keep your hours. It's gonna be hard, but like, even though Pastor said don't go into what Mr. Neil said, if you have a good reason to find a way to get your load lower, then do it. The other way that you can do it is in summertime, when you're allowed to have more time away from school, work 24 hours a day. Whatever it is that you need to do, hustle. If you're good at hustling, hustle. If you have that work permit, hustle. That's your time to hustle and do what you need to do to get to where you want to be. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's all I can say right now.
So I want thank you, thanks Heather, and gosh, there is so many cans of worms that you just opened with that, with some of the comments that you gave, both of you, that sometimes we kind of go on a tangent, but necessary tangent. Unfortunately, we only had allocated an hour and a half, and I just want to take a quick uh, uh, take on my two people, not to put you on the spot, but let me know, text me in or send me a chat in the chat if you are able to stay a little bit longer and how much you are able to stay so I can manage that time effectively. That said, um, I am going to go into some questions that people have sent in. Mm. Let me, um, gosh, so much stuff. Let me figure out. Yeah. Okay. No, thanks, Ed. Let me figure out what because I would hate for us to get out of here without at least taking the time to answer some questions that people had sent me during the course of the week. So I'll come back to the chat. I see some questions in the chat, but let me just go back to my phone and answer some questions and pause some questions that came through there real quick. And it's also possible that some of the questions we've already kind of addressed. So by all means, remind me, like Miss Heather, I am also getting up there in age. I'm not getting old, but I'm getting up there in age. So I might think we didn't address something, but when we already did. So this individual is saying, again, we are going to only provide the information in generalities, not specifically to a specific situation, because obviously you want to hear the whole full story, and through so for you to go to an attorney. But here's what somebody said. So, is it safe for me to transfer school in this new proposed 4 years maximum stay in the US for international students? Because I want to leave my master's and go to nursing. I got accepted at a community college to start my nursing program in the fall. So, is it a good idea to do that now? Because I had completed my second semester in the master's program, but I was thinking about continuing pulling the Empower loan to fund the masters, and every month I have recurring. Okay, that portion is very specific to the it's very client based, so we are not going to go into that, but I want to encourage you to reach out to either Mr. Niels or Heather for a consult. It's really important. I know that sometimes people are like, $100 or $150 or $200 for consultation, but it will save you a whole ton of issues. I mean, if the consultation is 30 minutes or 1 hour, whatever the time frame is, you are a student, write profuse notes as you are meeting with attorneys so that you can refer back to. But let's talk about this, where people want to transfer, where people want to go back to go to do another program for whatever reason, like with this guy going leaving his masters to try and do nursing. Is that something that one is open to do, and are there some immigration consequences or implications that they need to be worrisome or to be worried about?
So what we have seen in, just in the past is sometimes there could be a red flag from USCIS. But okay, were they able to successfully change, because, oh yeah, the other thing that I hope students are very careful about before you get accepted to this new school, make sure that the school that you are at, it has transferred you to that school. And that's been entered into your service record that this is now your new school. Because if you just transfer without that, now you are in a, you risk your being out of status, right? So the other concern sometimes that can end up coming up and has not necessarily come up before with the other administration, so to speak, but could come up now is they're asking a lot of questions about progression. Let's say, for example, you were doing a degree in, I don't know, let's not even say psychology because that's almost closer to nursing. Let's say you were doing a degree in project management. They might then say, how did you progress from project management to nursing? So just be very careful about your progression. But if you've been able to successfully move right now, because this interim rule, it's still an interim rule, it's not yet law. So, but once it becomes law, then, they obviously there's going to be a lot of, pushbacks, and a lot of the schools are not going to be able to do the things that they have been able to do in the past. But for now, just make sure that your service record has transferred successfully before you even move to that new area. Because what can end up happening is that uh, maybe sometime last year, I had a young man come to me, and I felt very sad for him. So he had come here on a sports visa, a sports student. What do you call it? Scholarship. Like I said, my
Scholarship.
age. Yeah. So he came here on a sports scholarship. Then he found another school that was willing to take him. Maybe it was a better deal or whatever. But they didn't change. They just took him. But I don't know what happened between the schools. They didn't transfer his service. So just make sure that that part is done so that you're in good record. Because once your service record is deactivated or then you are in trouble. So that one is a non-negotiable. So just make sure that you keep everything the way that it should. If you have any doubts about anything, I would really suggest talking to a lawyer. There are many it's not just me and Mr. Nils that are immigration lawyers. There are some other lawyers in our community. There's attorney James, there's Mr. Fox. They're different attorneys, so you're not limited to just us. Choose the one that you prefer, that you feel you can connect to. And the other thing that I want to say is that when you do the consultation with the attorney, please ask them to send you something written after the consultation, something about what you discussed, maybe just a summary so that you have it for your records.
And I'll just add something that the service system is actually maintained by ICE. So most people don't maybe realize. So it means that ICE has real-time info about your any violations on your service record. So just wanted to add that. But also in terms of changing schools, one thing also to keep in mind is to make sure that the school is actually accredited to accept F1 students, because there are actually schools, not all schools can accept or admit F1 students. So that, because I've seen people waste time. So they will start the application process with one school and then realize that, well, the school will not even take them as international student. So that should be your first question as an international student, to inquire about the accreditation or the school's ability to accept you as an international student.
So I do have a group of attorneys that we we discussed some things that are happening. And, I just noticed that there are a lot of students out there that are increasingly worried about their situation with regard to OPT. And I cannot stress this enough. It is a very sad situation. Um, I just don't think that your being authorized to stay is gonna cure your ability to be able to have the OPT. I right now, it's not looking good. Yes, you are authorized to stay in a way, authorized, quote unquote, but I think there's a deliberate move to just frustrate people. Just the same way that I'm sure you've seen that a lot of people, they are abandoning even their asylum applications because some of them, let's say for example, you're now in immigration court and you're told that you have to go to a third country to seek asylum there. They're basically doing that, trying to discourage people. So to me, this is a way of discouraging people because just look at it this way. If let's say you were approved, but your EAD hasn't come, you can't work. Your 60 days is going to come up. You think they're going to go ahead and say, okay, you can stay another 60 days. We'll give you another 60 days, or we'll give you the opportunity now to do your OPT. Here's your EAD. I just don't think so. I think this is just a way to get people out the door because remember that the motivation for doing this pause for our country was they were finding out that a lot of F1 students or visitors were coming here and staying. They were overstays. So to them, this is a mechanism to just discourage people not to come because their argument, I would think, is well, we don't necessarily think that these people are good for our economy. They're just a burden to us. So let them go to their own countries and figure it out. And unfortunately, if you look at the one that we are on, the list that we are on, it's mainly African countries. So to me, my sentiment is that they don't think that we are that much benefit to them. Unfortunately, it hurts to hear that, but that is the reality of where we're at.
Well, sorry, I'll just also add to that from an advocacy standpoint. We've done some research in my organization around the rate of visa overstays, and we found out that there are actually some non-African or even European countries that have higher rates, higher overstay rates than African countries. So, but then so overstay is being used as a basis for those visa restrictions. However, like Spain, for example, Spain has a higher visa overstay rate than a lot of the African countries that were banned. So just wanted, I'm happy to
It's
also
all
share the,
scapegoating, man. It's all scapegoating. It
so I'm
really
happy to share the research findings, but
But
wanted
then
to
look at
add
it this way,
We appreciate that.
Attorney Mills. Look at it this way. Look at when events happen in certain parts of the world. Which countries are more likely not to get that much, reporting? I mean, it's the reality is really very sad that we're not taken as individuals. Like my situation, just because I'm from Africa, it doesn't mean that you have to blanket me with everybody. You get what I'm saying? I could be, and it might be just a few people that are okay. Like, for example, we had one individual last year who decided to go around on a shooting rampant, and now everybody's affected. We can't Asylum applications are being, from our countries, they are on hold. So it I don't They just looked at the data. Maybe they just decided they were not going to look at the data from Spain or wherever and just looked at those countries and decided to report those countries. That's what I think, you know. And they just don't want them. Maybe there's this thing, this nationalism thing that we just don't want Black and brown people.
Whatever the reason is, at the end of the day, it is their country and they are making their rules. And what is unfair as that might sound, is callous maybe as it may sound, and not nice. At the end of the day, these are the rules, that this is the environment in which we are living in. Therefore, until things change, we have to color within the box that they have given us in with whatever the laws that are in place right now. So, Professor Niels, there is a lot of fear and uncertainty right now, obviously. Without creating panic, what should students realistically be paying attention to in today's immigration environment?
Watch the news, pay attention to what's happening. There's a lot. It's hard to keep up. As any attorney would tell you, um, pretty much every week there's something new that's popping up. So it can be overwhelming. So number one is, as we said earlier on the call, your DSO is your best friend. Talk to them, find out, what options might be available to you. The sooner the better, but talk to them, approach them. And number two, just watch what's happening. There's a lot, but talk to an attorney if you have questions. I mean, I think we can't emphasize this enough, but um, you know, uh, a consultation can save you so many problems down the line. And I would say in terms of enforcement, um, one thing that this, because we have a new Secretary of Homeland Security, and one thing that he has made clear is that now they will rely on local police to ramp up enforcement, right? So in order the ramping up enforcement, they have an aggressive goal for detention and deportations, and they will be relying on local police. So what that means is that, a simple traffic violation or you being pulled over can lead to serious consequences. So what and I'll say this based on experience with a lot of my clients. A lot of people are getting detained through a traffic violation. If they get arrested or detained or by local police, and local police will refer them to ICE. It's unfortunate that sometimes, because police need, some articulable fact, reasonable suspicion and some fact to, justify or some of their actions. And in a lot of cases, your accent can be used as a reasonable suspicion to refer you to ICE. And that can lead to detention. Again, so please be careful, don't get in trouble. Um, um, and so that's one thing to note. The other thing is also that this USCIS director, the current USCIS director, has made it clear that they are cracking down on fraud. So, like Heather mentioned, whether you're filing, green card or asylum, um, you know, they are ramping up um, vetting, not necessarily for on national security grounds, but also on fraud related grounds. So just be careful, and also any finding of fraud can literally affect any other application that you file in the future. And lastly, with regard to asylum, um, I'll tell you this from a recent court experience. For people who are applying for asylum, USCIS or DHS is using a process to pre-terminate or to cancel people's cases by asking the judge, well, to deport them to a third country, right? So if you're from Zimbabwe, they'll ask the judge to deport you to Uganda. We heard that, they should be stopping that practice. DHS should will be stopping that practice in the near future. But if you're applying for asylum and you receive, it's called a pre-termination notice. So that's a request from DHS to, asking the judge to pre-terminate or to stop your case and deport you to a third country. Please work with an attorney. Those cases are very difficult. We had a case recently where the judge said that the law, the current rule, does not even allow him to decide in our favor. Although we proved that, if this person is deported to a third country, they will be subject to the same threats or persecution that they're also fearing in the home country. However, the rule there is very, very, very strict. And so you need to work with an attorney. Please don't. I know there are certain application or things that you can do on your own, but if you're applying for asylum, or if you have a friend, anyone applying for asylum, and they receive pre-termination, these are the things that you can even try it yourself. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention from a recent case we had in court. All right, I'll stop there. Thanks.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am preparing for a specific only asylum session, so stay tuned. We'll come back with the asylum sessions session. So Ms. Heather, for students who may already be worried that they have already made a mistake and they may be out of compliance already, what is the healthiest first step?
Well, it all depends because every situation is different. If it's something that can be salvaged, that can be reinstatement. I mean, if something happened, maybe there was a mistake, and it's something that they can apply through USCIS, working with the school, whatever, to get a reinstatement. But its reinstatement is only good for a specific period of time. So don't wait until things really become impossible. And I'm going to say this, and I know it's going to be unpopular. And I'm going to speak in Shona because I think, some of these things, tese takabva kumusha. Anditi tese takabva kumusha. Tikauya tichiti tiri kuya kuAmerica dream. And risamanyika saka pamwe chimanyika chichabuda.
Okay, so please, when you do that, can you allow me to translate in the
Yeah. Yeah.
Saka
let me know. Yeah. Saka chandiri kungotaura ndechekuti kumusha kana zvinhu zvanyatsoipa munhu zviya zvazvokuipa zvekuti hauna kana basa, hauna ari kukubatsira. Ukadzokera kumusha, inini one of the things zvandakamuzvitaurira ndezvekuti kana ndaona zvinhu zvanyatsonetsa, ndinodzokera kumusha. Pamwe ndinotosvika ndodya hangu sadza nemango nechii nenyimo nenzungu ndichisurvive, because muno muAmerica makanaka kana uine basa.
Hold on. Uthi yena njoba sivele ekhaya, vele wena ulekhaya lakho, right? So nxa izinto zingahambanga kuhle, you've knocked on every door. Izinto kazihambanga kuhle, amaphepha akho kamanga kuhle, umsebenzi awutholi, awula lapho kokuhlala okupermanent. Kungangcono ubuyele ekhaya, ngoba ekhaya at least uza kuba lesithwala, uza kuba le access to amasawu, amengo, lezinye izinto ekhaya. So kungangcono ube le peace of mind kulokuthi ube ulokhu uhlezi khonapha wena ungela maphepha, ungela msebenzi, ungela lapho wokuhlala.
Vamwe vanhu vari kutya kudzokera kuZimbabwe nokuti vari kutya kusekwa. Kunzi akaenda kuAmerica, adzoka kutambura. But kana uri kuZimbabwe, munoziva America kana usina support iri very cruel. Kumba vanhu vanogona kuseka 1 week 2 weeks, but uri kumusha.
So uthi yena abanye bayesaba ukubuyela ekhaya, not because abalakhaya, but bayesaba into ekuthiwa abantu baza kuthini. Sonke silayinda sicabanga njalo sometimes over certain issues ukuthi abantu baza kuthini, ngizahlekwa ngabantu. But abantu baza kuhleka for a short while. Ngingalinika my own case. When I was deported from England, that was one of my worries. What are people going to say? What are people going to say? I had stayed in England for almost 10 years. Deport was unceremoniously. I mean, well, not a jail, but a detention, right? I was also in detention. I'm gonna speak this one in English. So one of the things that we worry about is if I return home with nothing, I've been here for a while and I don't have anything to show for it. What are people going to say? People are going to laugh at me, but yeah, they will. And so what? And you might also be surprised that they may not. They may actually embrace you back home, especially your loved ones. They may actually say, welcome back home, right? And also, your peace of mind is the most important thing that you really want to guard with everything that you have. When I was deported from England, some of you have heard my story. I was deported from England after staying there for almost 10 years. Me and my young son, we stayed in detention for a little while. And then we were put on the plane and we went home. And that was another worry for me back then, before I came to the US, obviously. What are people going to say? How am I going to explain this and all that? But my saving grace, one of the things that a lot of us do not do, is we come over here and we forget that we came from Kumusha. We do not contact people. We don't maintain relationships with people, and therefore anoku pick up at airport ndiani. That's one of the other concerns here. Wakanga uri kuno uchita zvauri kuita, and then now you are uchidadira vanhu. Now I'm not saying kuti kutumira mari all the time, but just keeping healthy relationships with somebody, with some people at home. Because for me, I used to take care of my family. It is one thing, and I still do even now. I never worry about who is going to pick me up from the airport. So when I got deported, I surely was picked up from the airport. I had somewhere to stay. I lived with my sister. I was in between my sister and my parents, and so I did not have a place where I was laughed at. People embraced me. Actually, no, let me not lie. Ndakasekwa kuchurch. Unfortunately, some church leadership who actually used to live in my house when I lived in England, whenever they visited England, but they made fun of me. But they were inconsequential to me in relation to my family. My family, your family, I trust me. Your family, even anything, your family will still, they will say certain things, but they will take you in. So utiena ungazihluphi ngokushona ngokube uloko ukhonapha izinto zingahambanga kuhle. Go back home, go back to the drawing board. And that's for me, I did that, got deported, and then 6 months later, God opened an opportunity for me to be in the US, and I've been here now almost 30 years.
Yeah, and like what Pastor T is saying, kuti even kudzokera kumusha kwacho hazvirevi kuti unobva wati ndakugara ikoko. Kana maona imwe opportunity, ndosaka ndandiri kuti kana zvichiita toona kuti status yaakuda kuenda kusina kunaka. chimboedzokera kumusha pamwe gore rinouya pamwe zvinhu zvinenge zvanaka wodzoka zvako. I know kuti inyaya yemari. Okay, imwe alternative ndeyekuti kana uchiri munomu uinako work permit waona kuti zvimwe zvese zviri kuramba, then iwewe shanda nesimba ugadzirise zvinhu zvako kuitira kuti kana zvinhu zvazoenda in a different way, at least unoona pekutanga wadzokera kuZimbabwe. So pane vamwe vanhu vekuti vari kunyatsogadziza, because chinoitika ndechekuti vamwe venyu muri kuti muri munomu vanhu vari kuZimbabwe vanenge vachiti vari kudawo mari, but iwewo uri kunyatsoziva kuti situation yako. Sorry, nenge yangu iri kutaura.
Okay, while she's doing that, uthi yena ngesinye isikhathi abantu akabafuni ukuya ekhaya ngoba bayesaba ukuthi abantu baza kuthini. But kungangcono ubuyele ekhaya and be safe. Kungangcono ubuyele ekhaya and start and think about starting over. Ngoba sengikhohliwe mina ukuthi okunye utheni othe ephenduke mbijana. Sorry, sengikhohliwe ukuthi what else did she say? Go ahead, Heather. I forgot what other points you said.
No, inini ndiri kungoti kana wadecide kuti uda kugara munomu zvinhu zvakaoma, shanda nesimba, but uchiziva kuti pamwe zvinhu zvingazoende, pamwe uchasangana nevanhu vechando ava you know, but chingogara zvinhu zvako zvakamira mushe, you know, uri kuziva kuti passport yangu iri pakati, uri kuziva kuti mari yandaendesa kumusha ndiri kusvika pakati, because vamwe pamwe unenge usingadi kuzosvika kwanhingi, unenge uda kusvikawo pamba pavo. Vamwe vanhu zvavari kuita ndezvekuti vari kugadzirisa the future muZimbabwe. Tese inini handivoni ndichiritaya munomu.
Okay,
ndekudzokera musha.
So uthi yena kulabanye abanikwa ama work permit. So engxenye wanikwa i-work permit yona leyo ngoba you are pending your whatever case that's pending, but ule work permit right now. Njoba ula i-work permit yona leyo kathesi qalisa ukusebenza usebenze ufaka imali yakho on the side, ungathatheki ungabe nguthathekile. Uthatheke ngezinye izinto ezenzakalayo elizweni leliso. Ungabona abathenga imota la usuthenga imota, ungabona abathenga indlu la usuthenga indlu, ungabona abenzani. But wena prepare ukuthi uma ngingabuyiselwe ekhaya ngizabe lami ngile mali yami either ekuyaqalisa something kumbe already uyakha ekhaya or you're building something ukuthi lawe nxa ungabuyela ekhaya you have somewhere to start. Ngoba I think abantu abaningi bayesaba ukuthi ngingahamba ekhaya ngiyaqalisela ngaphi. But njoba sikhuluma ngama-students, ama-students i-concern yenu ngeyokuthi you are not here to work. So nxa abantu usithi I think omunye ucomment ukuthi ngingagcina njani abantu ekhaya mina lapha ngingasebenzi. One of the mistakes that some of us who have been living in the diaspora for a long time is that we set as an unrealistic expectation for our families. Our families, not even directly our families, but as a diaspora community. So we go back home and then when we get home, when we're going for a vacation or for a visit or whatever, and we are renting these GD6s and we are doing all kinds of things and we give people impression that life is good, money is coming everywhere. In America, you're picking money from trees. And also, whenever your family say, I need money, you want to me $100 manangu, you run and you nguava and you send them that money without informing them the reality that you are in. You are a student.
Yeah.
There should not be any obligation or any expectation of you financially supporting people at home. As a matter of fact, they should be supporting you. Financially supporting people at home. So you yourself need to set that expectation with your family. And you have to make sure that you are setting boundaries. A lot of times we don't set healthy boundaries with people at home. Some of us, we know, I can call National Grid or whatever, the electric company, and say, listen, can I have a payment plan or can I pay my bill later, so that you take that $100 and send it back home. That's a bad precedent. we have done it and we are in trouble for it. So if now our families don't know the word no. So you being new in the country and starting afresh, again, we are digressing from this, but from our initial conversation, but it's really important that you set those boundaries so that you are not setting yourself up for failure in the future. You are a student. Don't give impression michione kwa pama social media posting how you have bought the latest Louis Vuitton bag, how you have put, of course they are going to think you have money. So it is also how you are presenting yourself to your family that will put you in unnecessary pressure. So allow yourself a little room of recognizing and acknowledging the fact that you are a student. You are not going to, even if you work those 20 hours that they give you at your school or whatever, you will not make enough money to be able to fully support Vanu Kumusha. Maybe on your mom's birthday, maybe on Mother's Day, you can send some flowers or whatever. But at the end of the day, you need to take care of number one. Even the Word of God says, when Jesus is asked by his disciples, what is the most important commandment? He said, love your God with all your heart, with everything that you have. Love your God. That's number one. And then number two is as good as the first one. He says, love your neighbor. But he doesn't end there. He says, love your neighbor as yourself. In other words, you cannot give out of emptiness. You need to be able to give out of overflow. You should not be giving people what is to the point where you are left naked, but you are helping other people. You need to take care of number one first. You can't give what you don't have. So love yourself as your neighbor, meaning you need to love self first. You need to take care of self first. As a student, set realistic boundaries and expectations with your family.
I noticed that I don't know. Someone said, "Glo." They said you should be helping us with other options to survive in here, not options Yokumba. What I'm gonna say to Glo is that we are not saying everybody should go home, but we are just saying kutikana zvaramba, all the opportunities, all the because kumusha kwako. Inini nyangwe ndite citizen munomuka kumusha kumusha, that
Oh,
one.
I think another challenge that we have is not kuti. If you think of it in terms of we are advocating for people to go back home, you have also obviously missed the mark.
You've missed the point.
We are saying if things are not well, you are not able, because it's better that you go home on your own accord than to be asked to leave. Because when you are asked to leave, you may never
not
be
only
able to come
asked to
back.
leave. If you are asked to leave, Jirinani, if you are put in detention in ICE, kwekuti pamwe mvura chaiyo hausi kupiwa mvura uri kunzi idya ice mablocks eice ndo mvura. Kana uda kutenga mvura wonzi yobhodho remvura riri kuita $10. Those are the realities. Uri kurara pafloor saka unoti iamerica ipi. I like Mercy's comment where she says also some of us as students, we applied for Canada visa. If they chase us, we go home and visit Canada and start again.
Exactly.
Some may consider it as plan B. Have another plan in case things don't work out. That's why we even said kuti kana uchiona kuti zvinoita kumbogara uchishanda, whichever way you figure it out, then you work, you save your money, but uchiziva kuti zvinogona kuenda another way. Tiri kuona vanhu munoziva vadikani kutaura izvi hakusi kuti tiri kuda kudadira munhu whatever, tiri kutaura zviri kuitika kuti nyika inoi is no longer kind like it used to be. They are not kind.
And
so, if I may
go ahead. Go ahead.
So, I do a lot of asylum cases, and sorry, I did not understand a lot of the conversation because I don't speak the language. But I do a lot of asylum cases, and it's a difficult conversation to have with people. And I'll tell you, with the way things are going now, only 5 to 10% of asylum cases are getting approved. Um, that is a sad reality. And of the 5 or 10% of asylum cases that are being approved, or the majority of cases of those cases are, people who have, like, well-known people, like, maybe I don't know if this part should be recorded, but a lot of
Hold
our.
on a second. I will pause.
Yeah, so a lot of us, a lot of our community members.
So there is a couple questions that I believe are quick answers. So if you don't mind, we have a student who came in with they're saying that they were given a loan by Empower, and then that loan fell through once they got here, and so they stopped going to school, and they began to they stopped go. Hold on a second. Let me find the question again. Mm. Oh, pardon me. Ah, not that one. That one has been answered. Asked and answered. Oh, eight. So basically, what I read from it was that they came with the Empower, and Empower was not able to pay for them, and so they stayed away from school, and then and then they applied for asylum, and then they got approved, and now, oh no, they got denied. Sorry, they got denied the asylum, and now they are now in a position. I guess they had gotten a work authorization, so they were able to work, and now they have the money to finish school. But now the school had revoked their F1. Does that person have any recourse?
No, they do not, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They cannot go back to the school and say, "Hey, I can now pay my fees. Let's reinstate this."
Okay, because the thing is, when they were already out of status, they had so the asylum was keeping them going when they were out of status. So it's just like let me give a context of let's say you have you file for asylum
Mm-hmm.
and your asylum got denied. Let's say you were still in school. They give you what is known as a notice of intent to deny or annoyed, and they they give you another chance to kind of they give you the reasons why they denied, and then but then after they give you that noid, they don't put you in removal proceedings. Now if you were an F1 student, you filed for asylum and then you went out of status, so they're gonna put you in removal because you were already out of status. So it's going to be hard to go back to that school because they were already out of status. So they're most likely going to be put in removal if they have not been.
Okay, if
It's
OPT,
sad. It's just sad because we are looking at this is I'm not saying that things are bad. We are hearing some success stories. They are there. And you could be that success story. Don't take this as doom that we say go back to Zimbabwe, everybody. No, yours could be that success story, whatever it is. And we want to hear the success stories. Let's share them. I've had some success stories, even within what's happening right now, where I'm like, and I would have sleepless nights about certain situations, and then they work out. But it is tough going. It is really tough going. So we're just saying that, when the situation, when you are at that point where you're looking at everything and nothing is working, you might want to consider this as a last resort. But if it's not going to work for you, then think accordingly.
Oh, we have taken so much of your time, Mr. Niels and Heather. And as you can see, there are so many questions. And I'm going to take note of any questions that came through the chat that we did not ask or that we did not answer. And perhaps we will when we come back again, we can put those things into place. But I do want to take a moment to read one of the things that Heather had put in the chat in the event that you missed it. So some practical advice for right now as a Zimbabwean or as an F1 student, not just Zimbabwean, but as an F1 student, the safest approach is usually keep your CVs active at all times. Request extensions early, maintain strong academic standing, avoid unnecessary school hopping, avoid unauthorized work, avoid international travel unless absolutely necessary. Zvekumbonooneka kuti ndadzoka kubva kuamerica motomboisa pasi. Keep detailed records of transcripts, funding, and attendance. Consult counsel before reinstatement filings or major academic changes. At the moment, I-20 extensions themselves are still generally possible, but the broader immigration environment is much stricter and more discretionary than before. So I hope, Basrika, I hope you were helped a little bit with today's conversation. Let us continue the conversation offline. If you have some questions, by all means, send them over to me, and I'll be happy to help you get them answered. But in the event that you want to reach out to Heather and Mr. Niels, I am going to give you I had put it in the comment section in the chat room, but I also want to put them out here so that you have them. Here's Heather's phone number: 469 450 9406. 469 940. Sorry, 469 450 9406. And then for Mr. Niels, his number is 571 606 0484. Again, 571 606 0484. And my phone number is 914 618 8800. 914 618 8800. Now, I want to caution you, when you do reach out to any of us, please make a soft introduction. My name is so-and-so. I was on this session, or I had this session. This is my issue. In one text. Don't hi and then expect me to say hello and then Let's save each other's time. And also, don't call us. Send us a WhatsApp message first before you call us. Send us a WhatsApp message. What's the issue? And then we will take it from there. Please use these numbers sparingly, knowing that there are so many other people who are in need of the services that we offer. So therefore, save yourself and us time by just saying, this is my name, this is what's going on, this is what I need help with. And we'll be able to assist you as effectively as possible. So, Mr. Niels, I mean, I'm going to give you 1 minute. What would you like to the students to take away from this session?
I think we've said a lot, but I'll repeat 3 things. One, work with your if you're a student, an F1 student, work with your DSO designated school official. Number two, maintain status. Do your best, as Heather mentioned. Make sure you are not only maintaining status but maintaining good academic standing. That will help. And three, reconsider travel plans. This is not a good time to travel. And four, if you're thinking about, changing status or adjusting status, work with an attorney. So if you're F1 and trying to change to even H-1B, I think we got some questions about H-1B or other employment-based visas, asylum or family-based visa or petition, work with your attorney. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Heather.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone. This is just our opinions. This is not legal advice. This is just so that we talk about your situations. Somebody did ask, if they were on Empower, now they don't have any other financial means or whatever. I am an attorney, and Attorney Niels is an attorney. Pastor T is, helps with immigration. So and other, she does more in terms of
I'm an
help.
an immigration consultant, and I help with other things beyond that.
Yes. So one of the things that I just wanted to mention is that because we are bound by ethics as attorneys, we do not go into people's financial situations, unfortunately. So I cannot tell you where to go and get money. We're not allowed. We are, there's certain rules that we have to follow. We are just professionals. That's it. We give legal advice. I went a little bit out of that because I do care for my people. And I have seen enough suffering of people that have been arrested by ICE. And I just don't want anybody to get in that situation. So thank you. And I just wish everybody the best. I really want the best for each and every person. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you so much. So as we close, I want to remind everyone, being informed is part of being protected. So much fear grows from confusion, from assumptions, or even misinformation. But when people understand the rules, when you understand the risks, and when you understand where to seek help, then you are able to make wiser and calmer decisions. Don't make decisions when you are panicking, or something has happened in the school or in your life, and then you make a quick panic decision. That's not a good place to be. To our speakers, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your time, and your heart with the community today. And to everyone who joined, thank you for showing up, for asking questions, and choosing clarity. Please continue to follow Diaspora Women Arise and the Dialogue with Pastor T for future sessions on Prepared and Protected Immigration Clarity Hour. I'm hoping very soon we will have one on just asylum. What's going on in the asylum world, so that people are informed, and you make, if that's a route that you want to go with, you make informed decisions. Once again, it has been a pleasure to serve you. And again, reach out to us via WhatsApp, send a message, and let us know who you are, what's going on, how we can be of assistance. We really are here to serve. We want to serve our community. We want you to be informed. When we immigrated, some of us, we did not have this, was not there. We were driving blind, okay? And there are certain pitfalls that we are hoping we can help you not fall into. That some of us survived with this whisker, and some of us are still traumatized by it. But all in all, we are really just trying to ensure that you are well informed about what's going on politically, what's going on policy-wise, and what is practical. May God bless you. As always, it has been a pleasure to serve you. Again, this is Pastor T, and I have been your host. Have a wonderful day. Until next time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Pastor
Take
T.
care.
Bless
Have
you.
a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Pastor T.
You're welcome. Please reach out. Don't suffer alone. I meant to also say mental health is very important. And if this
Thank
is not
you.
there, forget it. So please take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
You're
Are you
welcome.
on Facebook?
I am on Facebook. I am on WhatsApp as well.
What is your handle for Facebook?
The Diaspora Pastor or Teresa Dangwa, TERESADANGWA.
Okay, thank
Oh,
you.
you are Teresa.
Thank
I
you.
know
Thank you.
you.
Okay, good. I hope you know me in a good way.
Very good way there.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Yes. Let me stop. Oh, sorry. I need to stop.